Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined, as always, by the boy.
Hey.
This here's a Two Nerds podcast, and we're here to talk to you about the coolest party of the summer. SummerSlam. A World Wrestling Entertainment supercard event? Do they call them pay-per-views anymore?
You know what? I don't know. And, as a bonus, I don't really care.
Yeah. I did not have high hopes for this card.
On account of it being a bad card?
Just a lot of these matches seem kind of crummy, and they even cut one of the matches I was looking forward to, for good reason. But, we'll talk about it when we talk about it. I don't see any reason to beat around the bush. Let's roll into match one. We started off pretty fire. It was Becky Lynch and Natalya for the championship.
Yep. First off, if you're a long-term listener, you know that I do like Natalya. She has really cool outfits in general. She's kind of an underappreciated talent. But do you want to know how I know Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch have terrible chemistry?
I, as the listener, will ask how.
Because I was way more interested in this match with Natalya. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Wait, have they even been fighting recently, or am I thinking of Alexa Bliss and Bayley?
You're thinking of Alexa Bliss and Bayley. But I think Alexa Bliss was still on the shelf when Becky Lynch came back.
Yeah, that's how little I gave a shit about that match. I forgot who was in it. Anyway, this was actually a really fun match.
Yeah, it was good quality. Really good submissions match. Lots of good wrestling. I expected this one to be good. This has had a really good build. It's been good to see Natty be legit instead of this weird fart and or cat joke.
Yeah, I'm not sure why she was the poop shoot for like 5 years.
I'm not sure either.
She's...
Smiled at Vince McMahon, maybe?
Who the fuck cares? Like, it's over now.
Yeah.
And she had a really cool build. The video package painted her as much more of the babyface than the actual build, as I understand it. But they were in Canada, so it's to be expected. What is perhaps not expected was the fact that they were in Canada, and Becky Lynch was still getting all the cheers.
I mean, she's stone cold over. Like, this is a weird crowd, even for a Canadian crowd. More on that later. I don't have a lot to say about this match.
No, it was good wrestling.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was well done. It had good psychology. It was a submissions match. They did make one change to the submissions match rules.
But they called it out really early.
Yeah. Normally, in a submissions match, rope breaks are rope breaks because it's a submissions match that's part of the challenge. They called out really early that in the submissions match circa 2019 in the WWE, rope breaks don't do anything. They called that out early, which is good because they did a lot of stuff that wouldn't have made any goddamned sense if they didn't. So, kudos to the announcers for doing a good job once.
I don't know why we had the volume up as high as we did, because
I like hearing the crowd.
Yeah, that's fair.
If there was an audio track available that didn't have the announcers, I'd probably watch that.
I took a survey a while ago, and they talked about maybe doing potential alternate commentary tracks with, like, wrestlers, or I'd be down for that.
Yeah, give me a commentary track with, like, 2 dudes who are wrestlers just doing good commentary, and then you can have the track where Vince McMahon puppets Michael Cole around, and I don't have to listen to that. And that'd be great. But I actually, you know what? I ended up making a joke about that later in the night. I'll circle back around to that if I remember when it happened. Oh. But there's not... I'm trying to think of stuff to say, but there isn't much to say. Becky Lynch went over. Good.
This was a by-the-numbers pay-per-view with 2 notable exceptions. 3. And it was a by-the-numbers podcast to follow it. I don't think we're going to have much to say about most of this. And that's fine, because sometimes we run long on these pay-per-view podcasts. So we might as well not run long. We might as well run regular. Yeah, Becky Lynch retained.
Good.
And yeah, Natalya doesn't need the title.
No, she doesn't. This could go another month. I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah.
But it also couldn't, and I wouldn't be mad.
Next, we got Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, in one of Goldberg's longer matches, actually, Dolph Ziggler got more offense in than anyone had any right to expect. I mean, Goldberg won because of fucking course he did, but like Dolph Ziggler actually got like more offense in than Brock did in their first match, I think.
I try to block it out.
That's fair. You've heard us last pay-per-view podcast talk long and loud about Ziggler, and neither of our opinions re Ziggler have really changed until.
Yeah, they went really interestingly with this. Goldberg came out, ate a couple super kicks, speared Dolph, got the 3. Walks back up to the ramp. Dolph is like, no, not good enough.
You got lucky. It was a fluke. You can't fight me man to man. So Goldberg went back down, speared him again.
I think jackhammered him that time, and then and left. And then Dolph gets a mic again, and like he's like rolling on the floor in agony while doing this. And he goes again. Oh,
anyone can get lucky twice.
Yeah. So Goldberg comes down, picks him up to his feet, pats him on the shoulder, and then spears the shit out of him.
Again, Dolph Ziggler sold that last spear like he was being hit by an ultra combo in a fucking Tekken game. He got air juggled.
I feel like this is a good direction for Dolph because my complaint is that he doesn't seem legitimate and everyone's taking him seriously. On commentary this time, everybody was kind of crying foul. Like,
what the hell are you doing?
Dolph
Why do you keep calling down the thunder? What? I think they called him delusional at several points and said he's completely lost touch with reality. Keep this.
Yeah.
Do this. Make Dolph Ziggler a complete, not a buffoon, just a dangerous psychotic. Just somebody who's out of touch with reality.
I think the phrase dangerous psychotic conjures up images that aren't exactly what either of us mean by that, but just somebody who is absolutely delusional. Lost in the sauce, if you will.
Absolutely. Just high on his own supply to the extent that he doesn't even acknowledge losses. And you can build something from that.
Yeah, I think that's entertaining. And have the commentary disbelieve him. Have the commentary going, I have watched this man lose every week. Why is Shane giving him a title match? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, that's good. That makes things interesting.
It takes his gimmick from a gimmick you can't sell without wins, which is talented athlete who is arrogant about it, to a gimmick that you can sell, that sells better without wins, which is arrogant guy who has no reason to be so arrogant.
Who's absolutely lost touch with
reality. That's exactly as good of a heel gimmick, and you don't have to win to sell it.
Yeah.
And then you can turn it into, like, he eventually, you could go 1,000 different ways with that are positive, that are good builds, that give him heat. Because that's the problem with Dolph Ziggler, is that he's been booked like ass for a decade. He's very talented. He always has been. Nick Nemeth is a talented wrestler. He's just been booked like absolute shit for like a decade now. If you work at it, you can make something out of this. And I'm hoping that you do.
And of course, Goldberg got to redeem himself. He didn't gas out until he was done with the match. He even did his long walkie. I don't think he headbutted anything on the way to the ring.
I think maybe he's learned his lesson about headbutting things. Well, I think maybe he briefly learned a lesson. There's no guarantee he's retained it.
So, moving along, Ricochet and AJ Styles went down for the U.S. Championship.
This was a fucking great match. Like, in terms of pure wrestling, this was a really good wrestling match.
Just to keep you guys up and up with how this basically works, so we don't have cable. And if you have the WWE Network, you do get Raw and SmackDown, but you get them like
a month delayed.
Pretty much. I think it's 3 weeks.
So enough delayed to not be worth it. And even when we had cable, and even if we had cable now, I wouldn't watch Raw and SmackDown. I have shit to do.
Well, and to that extent, we have access to Hulu, and we don't watch Raw or SmackDown.
Not even the shortened versions that are on Hulu. I have shit to do. Up to and including literally staring at the wall listening to audiobooks.
I mean, live your life. So I keep up with WWE news through various news outlets online, mostly Cultaholic. And I tell the boy stuff.
Yep.
So he had not heard of the AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows stable name until last night. Well, by you guys' metrics, two nights ago. I mean, you might be watching this any day, so submit your number of nights ago this was.
In the comment section.
Yes. And he did the predictable joke, the joke that you do. And the awesomeness of their visuals and the entrance cut him off. And it's very rare I see you abandon a joke because something is just so fucking cool looking.
That is exactly how that went down. I was getting ready to make a joke. Oh, they're rebooting that mid-2000s show, The OC. I was gonna go on and on. I was gonna do a long bit about how I'm so happy to see. I'll be happy to see this character and this character and this character. I don't know any of the characters from the fucking OC. I was just gonna make up names like Chad and Todd. And it was and then I cut myself off because that fucking entrance with the new icon and their new gear, and Gallows was in his actual Japanese, paint. It was cool. It was the first time since members of Bullet Club have come to the E that I felt like Bullet Club was in the building.
Yeah. This gimmick is great. They're selling it well. I'm glad they're finally doing this. I'm glad they got to run AJ Styles through his super mega face phase for as long as possible before they did this. I understand why.
Yeah, because he has the indie face cred. He's, it's a guy we know from Not Here. Yay! And they had to get that out of the people's systems, and now they're ready to boo him again, which is good because this was really good.
Yeah,
this was really good. Ricochet in his Nightwing costume did an amazing job selling as a face, and for a dedicated indie wrestler, selling can sometimes be a problem. And it was well done.
Yep.
The storyline was well done. I liked the ending. I thought AJ Styles going over was the right call. I don't think they're done here. I feel like Ricochet is going to end up going over in this feud.
My other consideration is they might be pushing Ricochet up the ladder.
Yeah, they might be getting him off the U.S. title to push him up to the Intercontinental, or he's not world title material yet.
I don't think he is either, but they might push him up like people. Not a title feud, but
have him get into personal feuds with enough big timers that he looks legit.
Because he's basically the poster boy of their Let's Appeal to Teens movement.
He literally showed up dressed as Nightwing. I mean, look, it's... Okay, sure. I would believe it. I mean, he's obviously talented enough. He just hasn't been around the E long enough.
Sure. But yeah, this was a fantastic match. The right guy won. Here I am in 2019 saying that about Alan Jalen Stalin.
But I mean, yeah, this is a gimmick that needs wins.
Yep.
These guys holding all the gold, holding the U.S. title and the tag team titles is the right call. They should have them for a while. For a stable like this, you want them to feel somewhat oppressive, because that's how you get the audience on the side of the babyface who tries to take them down. You need that first bit for the second bit to make sense and be good.
Yeah. And a solid build to this feud as well. So I'm happy with this still. Our next match is Ember Moon v. Bayley for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship.
Ember Moon is great. This match was good until the end of it.
I mean,
And I'm not talking about the finish. Bayley going over, as Bayley won, she retained. That's fine. The end of this match got bowling shoe ugly, and I have no idea why.
I'm starting to wonder if it isn't Bayley.
I mean, maybe it's just the last. What was it? The last 5 or 6 spots were just
just near misses all of them.
Almost really bad situations several times.
And it wasn't just but they saved it. I mean, the move still ended up looking rough. So I don't know.
Up until then, it was a fine match.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything amazing, which sucks.
Maybe one of them
Ember
got hurt
was
or
in it.
gassed out or something. Who knows?
But maybe someone tweaked something. 1,000 different things can happen. Maybe it's just a bad day at the office. That happens. But it was a fine match until it wasn't anymore. And when it wasn't anymore, it really fucking wasn't anymore.
As much as I would have liked to see Ember Moon win here, just because I like Ember Moon, that was never going to happen. So, it is what it is.
I mean, look, in my perfect world, Ember Moon would have gone over here too, just because I like Bayley. Ember Moon's cooler. Ember Moon is cooler, is more over with a certain section of fans, would easily get over with the fans that Bayley's already over with. She's just a better prospect to hang my hat on at the moment, but Bayley's in the middle of reworking into something that isn't quite the same gimmick, so I don't think they want to take the strap off her until she's done with that.
No. Also, she's willing to play ball, unlike some Sasha Banks people. Cough.
Moving on.
Our next contest.
Speaking of not playing ball.
Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon went at it with the stipulation that if Owens lost the match,
he would quit WWE.
Quit the WWE. This was so he could get the match with Shane McMahon, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was to get Shane to, from what you've told me and from what the video package showed, it was to get Shane to agree to the match in the first place.
Oh. At the last minute, Shane brought out Elias as a special guest enforcer.
I gotta be honest with you, that's perfectly bog standard heel stuff.
Yeah.
That is bog standard McMahon heel stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Vince did this shit back in the day all the time. It's not a problem, but for some reason it really fucking rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm not a mark, so it's not that, that cheating Shane McMahon. I mean, there's a little mark in my soul. I contend that if there's no mark in your soul, you probably should stop watching wrestling. But that wasn't it. It wasn't just I was mad at the bad guy. I don't know what it was, but the Elias thing really rubbed me the wrong way. It sucked me out of the match in a weird way, and I don't feel like that was the match's fault.
No, I thought this was a quality contest. They both did a really good job, decent spots. I feel like Elias's involvement felt natural in most places. There was one time where Kevin really should have heard the count, and he was just so sucked into the thing with Elias that he didn't. And I was kind of about that. But it's one spot.
Yeah, and I don't think it was the match's fault. I don't feel at the time I was pretty salty, but with a day of reflecting on it, because we record these the next day, I don't have much to say about this match because I feel like my experience of this match was soured for reasons I don't fully understand. I don't get why the Elias thing rubbed me as much the wrong way as it did.
Something to explore. It would rub me the wrong way because I think Elias is a quality talent who needs to actually be in legitimate gimmicks and looking decent instead of the joke that he is. But, hey, everybody's got to make their bread somehow, and I'm not going to argue with it.
He's willing to play ball, unlike some Sasha Banks cough people.
So, on to the next contest, your bathroom break match, at least mine.
I didn't go to the bathroom, but I shouldn't give a fuck about this match. Sorry.
Yeah, Trish Stratus came back for a quote-unquote retirement match against
Charlotte
Flair.
This is 3, I think, for her now. I think we're up to 3.
Who cares? I have nothing against Trish Stratus. She certainly wasn't my favorite back in the day, but...
No, she wasn't mine either. That was Lita. But
she's cool. I mean...
Yeah, she's fine. Trish Stratus is fine. Trish Stratus, I can say that name. The cat is very adamant that we should play with her. She's fine. She's a good wrestler. She can still go. I'll give her that. The match was fine.
She was okay.
At the end of the day, Charlotte Flair has removed my ability to give a fuck about her because I never know what Charlotte Flair's going to show up for the match. Is it going to be the fucking astounding talent who can blow me out of my damn seat and pull off amazing matches that completely, suck me in and enrapture me and make me feel like a 12-year-old again? Or is it the fucking goober who's not even trying? And there's no middle ground. It's one or the other. And so,
it's usually the goober.
It's usually the goober. And so she sucked my ability to give a shit about her out. And at this point, I just don't believe wrestlers when they say it's a retirement match. I just don't believe them. I'm sorry, but you have only yourselves to blame.
I mean, I don't think I'm offended by it anymore, but yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I'm not offended. I just...
Even if I did believe it, I don't care. But you know what? I'm not the local Toronto audience, so I don't think I was ever supposed to care.
No, this was clearly for the locals.
And they were into it.
Yeah, they definitely were. But, I didn't give much of a shit about either of the people in the ring. Trish Stratus was never my favorite. She wasn't able to buy my buy-in with, it's the last match of hers, because no, it isn't. It's the last match of hers until there's a big enough payday to bring her back.
She had some good arguments. I think the general idea of this build was good. Charlotte Flair going, no, I am the women's revolution. Trish going, but we paved the way for you.
Yeah, I agree, but they've done that gimmick 7 times.
They have as well. And
every single women's competitor from any time before the women's revolution has run that exact gimmick, often against Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this gimmick. It's a good gimmick. It's a good horse.
And it was presented well here.
But it's dead now.
Or at the very least, there needs to be more space in between trottings of this horse. Now, if you'll notice, listener, by this point in the show, things have gone pretty fucking predictably. Becky Lynch retained. Goldberg beat Dolph Ziggler. AJ Styles retained. Bayley retained. Kevin Owens beat Shane McMahon. Trish Stratus went out on her back on her supposed retirement match. And here
Kudos to you for that, Trish. I'll give you that.
Here we arrive at Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston. And I had my concerns.
Yeah, both of our backs were up. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I had my concerns before the show because Randy Orton's a big enough talent that they may have put the title on him because Randy Orton.
Or to build out another month where Kofi gets the title back.
Sure.
Or just to swerve the audience, which is what I was pretty... Like, my back was up. I was smelling a swerve here. I did not think this match was just going to end predictably like all the other matches before it. I was right.
It's not in the way we thought.
No.
Now, mind you, I think Kofi Kingston, in an emotional sense, is safe to lose the title at this point.
Yeah, he's had a good, solid, healthy reign. He's been champion since WrestleMania. He's had a lot of strong defenses against a lot of top-tier talent. He's done well.
Yeah.
I don't want him to lose the title. I don't know that there will come a point when I do want him to lose the title.
I want him to have one really good feud before he drops it.
Yeah, one really fucking memorable.
Something personal, you know?
And that's kind of what they're building here.
Yeah, this might be it. This might be the feud. Randall's definitely talented enough that he'll pull it out of him.
I mean, look, if at the end of the day, Randy Orton is an amazing talent, again, when he feels like it, it's just that his floor is higher than Charlotte Flair's.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely.
When he's not trying, he's still real good.
So what happened here basically was really poorly communicated.
It was just...
Bad visual storytelling.
It was a mess of a fucking ending.
So
the match was great.
Yeah, and they even did an exact spot sequence that I called out that made me feel smart. And a lot of good psychology. Really a quality match.
Yeah, good psychology. It was it had some predictable moments, but not bad predictable. Good predictable.
Yeah.
The kind of shit you want to see.
Yes. Like the stupid spot.
Yeah, which, I mean, literally, Kofi Kingston could do that exact thing in every match he has with Randy Orton from now on, and I would still be cheering.
And the fans were really into it. This was a fun match. And then they go outside the ring.
Ended!
They go outside the ring, and they're hurting, you know, they're kind of rolling around. They get up. Kofi's family's out there. Randy Orton looks at them, and then the bell rings.
Like, Randy, it's all right. So the thing the announcers tried to sell as what it was afterwards was that Randy Orton was looking to maybe intimidate Kofi's family, which caused Kofi to just absolutely lose his shit and go full fucking medieval on Randy Orton's ass. And thus, they both got counted out. That's not what happened. They got counted out before any of that shit happened.
I didn't even realize 10 seconds had passed. And I'd be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised, rather, if they didn't. If they rang the bell prematurely somehow for time reasons or something, and then that was the excuse
they're just going to fix it in post.
Yeah, basically.
But, like,
I didn't even hear the ref counting.
Like, in the world of the WWE, what happened there was Randall Keith fucking Orton, the 13-time world champion, forgot there was a 10 count in his titles match and lost his opportunity to the champion's advantage. And then the champion beat the shit out of him after the match, unrelatedly. And it's just a fucking mess.
Well, and at first, between the confusion from the announcers and, like, the actual context the screen was giving us, it looked like they called the match on a no contest because Randy was looking at Kofi's family. He wasn't brutalizing Kofi in front of them. He wasn't, like, even really saying anything. He was just looking at them and Randy smiling.
In the room.
Like, it was just weird.
And they tried to sell it like, oh man, Randy Orton knows that Kofi Kingston has a weakness of his family. No. What Randall Keith Orton has learned is that Kofi Kingston has the opposite of a weakness about his family. Kofi Kingston has caveman dad about his family. He will go full on fucking rip your head off and shove it up your behind for looking sideways at his family. Don't try it, Randy. It's a bad move.
I'm sure they're going to sell it, and Randy's going to go after the family.
Sure, they absolutely will, but that's not what was established.
No, that was just a really weird ending to an otherwise really good match. But it wasn't match of the night. AJ Styles versus Ricochet was not match of the night.
Oh, God, no.
Becky Lynch versus Natalya wasn't match of the
Nope.
night. Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar wasn't match of the night either.
Spoiler alert, it definitely wasn't.
It's a good match, though.
It was a good match, but it wasn't match of the night, because match of the night, ladies and gentlemen, was our next contest. No, you do it.
So, y'all who listen to me on the YouTubes might not know me. We'll say capital K. I have... Well, we've done podcasts on it, actually. I've done e-fetting for a long time, and I'm still involved in fake wrestling stories, as opposed to the very real ones we see on TV. When I came up with my signature e-fed some 15 or so years ago, Neo-Gothic Industrial Wrestling, the idea was it was going to be presented like a TV show. Like, there would be costuming and editing and special effects, and you could be weird, crazy characters like a vampire, and we would sell it as realistic, and the other guys in the ring would sell it because they're supposed to.
Think, like, Lucha Underground, but edgier.
Yeah, Lucha Underground, but edgier. Lucha Underground, maybe with a better budget and better writers. Although I didn't watch it for very long. I understood it got better pretty quickly. But,
yeah, the pilot was a little rough. That
was congealed into The Fiend last night.
WWE, look, I don't know if it's Wyndham Rotunda. I don't know if it's Tom Savini, who I'm told is involved. I don't know if it's Paul E. Dangerously. Whoever is responsible for The Fiend and the build-up that preceded it, never stop letting them book Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and kudos as well to Finn Balor, because I walked into this smarky mouth, why isn't he using the Demon? The Demon would mean he wins immediately. And they kind of piss poor sold it off, like, the commentator's like, Finn doesn't think he needs it. He's got his people, he's an athlete, he'll have been fine. And bless Finn, because Bray Wyatt goes through that whole terrible entrance, and if you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube, it's there.
He means terrible, like, in a more biblical sense.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And the lights come back up, and Finn Balor is shitting his pants actively.
Like, shouldn't have worn me white trunks tonight, folks.
Yeah. And then through the rest of the match, I haven't seen someone sell Bray's corner lean that beautifully in forever.
The dude sold the Fiend character, the unleashed aspect of the new Bray Wyatt. He sold him like he was like it was fucking Jason Voorhees in the ring.
Yeah.
And which is what you're supposed to do. Kudos to Finn Balor, because you, as much as the cool remix of his entrance music, as much as the lantern, which is the severed head of the old Bray Wyatt with his eyes sewn shut, fucking awesome, as cool as the Death in the Family Joker mask and the new dreads and all the shit that is a part of the Fiend character, as much as those are responsible for how amazing that match was, for how perfect that match was to introduce that thing, Finn Balor played just as important a role.
Yeah.
Because you made The Fiend look like $1 million, and that is so important the first time out of the gate. Because if you stumble, you end up the Shocker.
I was talking to someone earlier today.
Shockmaster, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. The Shocker, different guy. Also joked about.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they compared it favorably to Kane's entrance. His first one.
When he first came out with Paul Bearer?
Yeah, tore the door off the Hell in a Cell and all that stuff. And, this is exactly that kind. I haven't felt twice this year This time, and once before when Kofi won, it has been so long since I felt like something really big was happening in wrestling. And that's twice this year.
Yeah.
And AEW. But
like, this felt like a step forward for the industry.
Yes, it did.
And
they still have plenty of room to fuck it up.
Well, it's a Bray Wyatt gimmick. Yeah,
and it's the WWE.
1,000 miles of road to fuck it up, which is why I say whoever's booking him, whoever's responsible for the stuff leading up to this, for the Firefly Funhouse segments, for the slow build, the slow teasing of the darker aspect of Bray Wyatt.
Feeding him Mick Foley,
and having Mick Foley pass on the mandible claw as a finishing maneuver. Fucking classy.
And using the psychology, the reason Mick wanted to go with the mandible claw. Because if you didn't want a wrestler to tap out and lose their stuff, you could pin them with it. And it still looked good.
Yeah.
And they did that. Fucking pure brilliance. I could go on and on. I would like to mention one more thing about Bray Wyatt. And I think you had something else you wanted to talk about that you thought was a cool thing to put into the character. The Firefly Funhouse segments, I've liked them because the unhinged, just under the surface expressions, mannerisms, vocalizations that Bray is doing that make him look like an addict or someone who is afraid of something. But they kind of play off as just like also amateur-y. Like, not that he's an amateur, but that the character hosting this show is low budget kind of thing.
Yeah, it's on the surface hacky children's show, bad acting, and just below the surface fundamental hindbrain atavastic terror.
And yeah, at himself, which is beautiful.
At what he knows is lurking just underneath the surface.
And now that we have this debut, the whole package, and that video package beforehand, by the way, phenomenally edited. Now that we have this whole thing, that all of his little characters in the background are very clearly previous versions of him, or his inspirations, as it were, it comes together so well, and you get that he is afraid of himself. He is afraid of the Fiend. And they sell it so well. And he acts so well for it. I just wanted to throw out a big kudos and give you guys listening, if you watch the promos, if you're interested, go back, look at them again. Again, I'm pretty sure they're all on YouTube. If not, go sub to the network. They're all on there now. Watch through. See it. Appreciate the craft that's going into this.
Because it is craft and it is well done. There are two things I wanted to mention.
Okay.
One is sort of shorter. It's I want to congratulate the announcers, the commentators, for not fucking talking over his entrance.
You know, I thought about that this morning as well.
Never do that. Don't start fucking talking about the Fireflies or what the fuck ever during the Fiend's entrance. Letting that be silent did so much to build it. When he left, and it cut to black, and then it cut to him at the top of the ramp, and it zoomed in with him in strobe lights like the end of a horror movie. They didn't say anything. There were parts of the match where they weren't fucking talking, where they were just stunned and in fear of the Fiend, and that is perfect. There was parts where they did the opposite, and Colt fucking, and here's what I'm being told is his internal motivation. Don't do that. Do what you did the other times. But the thing that I want to talk about that I really love, that Cole kind of did, and here's what I'm being told is his internal motivation, when you didn't need to. It was obvious from the match. Show, don't tell. Is they've built in a way for the Fiend to lose without being completely destroyed. Like a lot of big, unbeatable bat monsters. Once they lose, they're fucked, because that's all they had going for themselves. The Fiend has something immediately and intrinsically built into him that allows him to lose, not right away, but once he's been built up, he can lose to someone without falling prey to that pitfall. And they built it in this match. In his debut match, they put in a moment where he fell back onto Bray Wyatt's moveset as opposed to the Fiend's moveset, because they're different. Wyndham Rotunda has a whole new repertoire of moves that are similar, but different to Bray Wyatt's. And then the one moment he drops back into Bray Wyatt, the one moment he goes for Sister Abigail, is the only moment in the match Finn Balor manages to turn around and get offense and The Fiend's on the back foot. And then he switches back, reasserts himself as his new persona, and immediately wins. That is such subtle and amazing building of a character. In 20 seconds, they did that.
Yeah.
Just fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
The match was 3 minutes long, and it blew everything else on the card out of the water.
I do want to say one more thing, very briefly, because we are winding down here, although there's not a lot to say about the main event. Oh, we're overtime, actually. The mask is phenomenal. I've been using that word a lot tonight. Maybe AJ Styles has impressed me with it. I've only seen it in stills, and I was like, yeah, that's a good mask. Live, good God. Like, as a horror fan, as someone who spent his formative years watching scary shit, and still does just for kicks, I cannot imagine standing across the ring from that face and going, yeah, this is another night at the office.
Yeah, I can't, like, and people in the arena said the same thing. Like, apparently in the arena, dude, people were fucking actually scared.
No doubt. I have no fucking doubt. And the flashing lights, it's just preying upon intrinsic human fucking fight or flight shit. And that's beautiful. This was artwork. Artwork in wrestling. This is the highest form of wrestling.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Moving on to the main event, which we accidentally had spoiled for us.
Which I'm happy about, actually.
Yeah, I think we both appreciated it a lot more because of it.
It allowed us to relax and watch the match as opposed to think about who's going to win and who's not. Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar clean. Clean as a fucking sheet, by the way. Not a lot of people can say that, even now.
Yeah.
No low blows, no trickery. Just beat him. Just won the wrestling match.
Yep.
Fine, good. Deflate Brock a little. He can go back to his farm or back to UFC or wherever the fuck he's going. I don't care. It was a fine match. Brock Lesnar clearly likes working with Seth Rollins in a way he doesn't like working with a lot of people because he put a lot more effort into this match than he has
sold
the last
really
6.
well. Yeah.
Like, he just clearly likes working with Seth Rollins. You can always tell when Brock likes working with someone because he just puts in infinitely more effort. Compare this match to his match with Dean Ambrose. And you'll see what I'm talking about. You can tell those two do not like each other, whereas these guys probably get along.
Yeah, I don't care for either of these guys that much. I'm less fond of Brock than I am of Seth, although I think Brock is more entertaining than Seth. So, the result of the match, I don't really give a fuck.
No, side note, I'm stealing this joke from you. Find you somebody who looks at you the way Paul Heyman looks at Brock Lesnar.
Speaking of a deep insight I had last night, I've come to the conclusion that Seth Rollins is a less interesting CM Punk in all regards.
That has downsides in that he's, less good on the microphone, less good in the ring, and upsides in that he's not as much of a gigantic dickhead.
Although he is still kind of a dickhead. So,
he's a regular, like all things involving Seth Rollins' dick, he's a regular-sized dickhead.
I just don't have the passion and fire to hate on him. And
no, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's a fine main event talent. I know why he's in the position he's in. I'm not in love with this gimmick. He's not a great, he doesn't seem like a good dude to hang around with.
I think he needs to start copping from a new book series. And I think can he be the monkey from that one, His Dark Materials or whatever?
Oh, no, everything's better when nerds talk about it.